Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. How are you feeling today? I hope you will be enjoying the best of health. I welcome you in my class that is in English for grade 5, and we are learning unit number 14, and its title is, my dear students, Traffic Issues. Yes, my dear fellow teachers, this lesson plan, PowerPoint presentation and worksheet links are given below. You may click it, download it, or you can amend it for your ease. I am going to deliver my lecture according to this lesson plan. Our today's lecture, lecture number 4, we will learn about story writing, my dear students. And before in English for grade 4, my dear students, already we have learned about story writings in details on page number 87. I hope you remember it. If you may not, so you can watch this video lecture again. Our today's students' learning outcomes are: recognize and describe briefly story elements, tell when and where the story is set, describe the characters in a story, express preferences about them, retell a story briefly and sequentially, and the next SLO, summarize a short folktale through gap summary exercise, and expressing an understanding of story through role play. So today we are going to cover up all these SLOs, my dear students, in details, inshallah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in Al-Quran, Surah Al-Anbiya, verse number 57, by Allah, I shall certainly carry out my plan against your gods after you are gone. So yes, in this verse, Allah Almighty is explaining all things. This verse is being taken from Surah Al-Anbiya. Okay, so in this verse, Allah Almighty is addressing with those people, those worship other gods except Almighty Allah. They worship different gods. Even they made these gods by their own hands. Even they are not able to talk, walk, or anything else. They can't take care of their own self also. Okay, so in this way, Allah Almighty is addressing to them that I carry out my plan against your God after you have gone. So I have to carry on. I have to settle all plans, and how to follow these plans, I know everything very well, and your God know nothing. So Allah Almighty is clearly saying, addressing to them. Okay, so because in those days of ignorance, we can say, my dear students, and because people used to worship stones and like idols, different types of things, even sun, stars. So in those days, Allah Almighty clearly gave this message to that one. Okay, so let's refresh our knowledge. Pre-reading questions are there. What do you know about a story and a folk tale? How story is set in a sequence? What is a story and what is a folk tale? Use your mind, try to guess, my dear students, try to refresh your knowledge that what are these and how we can write a story in a sequence. Okay, because already everything that is happening, an event, anything is that we share details in a sequence. Okay, so pause the video, my dear teacher, get answer from your students and then come back. Welcome back, my dear teachers. I hope students have reminded all these. So let's see what is a story and what is a folk tale. A fable is an imaginary and fun story. Fables written for purpose to teach a specific lesson or moral. So my dear students, fable means also story. Okay, you can say it's a story. Both are same related meanings. One is an imaginary and fun story. Suppose many stories that we are listening around us, even in our books, in our different story books also we learn that, but these teach us what is the purpose of these stories. Fun stories are also there, and scary stories, different types of stories are there, and mostly when we have time, so definitely we also read all these stories. But what is the purpose of these stories? These stories teach us a specific lesson. Okay, nothing is, if you're reading anything, so it's not useless, my dear students. So definitely you will get your own purpose. That the purpose is that which type of lesson is being delivered through this story and how we have to follow it. Okay, so let's see that. What is a folk tales? Folk tales are a kind of story that gets passed on from generation to generation. Folk tales are stories in the oral tradition, or tales that people tell each other out loud rather than stories in written form. So yes, folk tales are mostly like we discuss these stories orally, and they travel generation to generation. Generation to generation means Also, usually you have listened that someone is sharing a story that happened once upon a time, that thing happened, and what lesson we got from that story. So this type of story is folktale, okay? And usually, mostly this story verbally is shared, okay? This story is shared in a verbal way, not written, okay? So these are the traditions of any countries, of any cultures. It can be a fun story, it can be a story that have a moral lesson, but it's done that all stories have a moral lesson for all of us, that how we can follow this lesson. So let's see elements of story. We are going to get that, how we can write a story and how we can judge a story. So number one is beginning. The beginning tells that how are the characters and what is the setting. In the beginning we get that what are the story, what are the characters, and what is the setting. That all thing is being mentioned in the first element. And the next is middle. The middle tells us what happens to the characters. Characters can be, my dear students, animals, birds, human beings, and imaginary character can be, okay? So middle, and the middle we would get that what happened to the character, okay? Means which situation is being faced by a character and how. And next is end. The end of the story tells that how are the characters different at the end of the story from how they were at the beginning, okay? At the end we got that how story was started in a sequence. Everything we are getting in a sequence. The beginning, and the next is middle, how was the character in the middle, and how now at the end in which condition we found a character, okay, and how he or she or it tackled all things, okay, at the end. So at the end we get these things. What is plot? The plot consists of the events that happen in the story. Plot is all these things, that all events that are happening in the story. Plot, the story revolves around the plot, my dear students. You will get that. The story revolves around the plot. Plot is the main point for every story. See there, conflict. Every story must have a conflict, challenge, or a problem around which the plot is based. So conflict is that is a challenge to that character have to face in the story. So it is so interesting when we find a conflict. Like my dear students, I think you have remembered that the thirsty crow. So what was the conflict? The water was low and he was trying to overcome this problem because he was thirsty, okay, because it was very thirsty. So that this conflict, the whole is called, what was in the beginning? Yeah, he was very thirsty and searching here and there, and the middle when he found a jar of water, but water was very low. So this is the conflict, how he tackled all problem. This is called conflict. And the next is resolution. The resolution is at the end of the story. It is when you learn what happens to the characters after the conflict is resolved. Okay, now you got that at the end, but we have to do that. My dear students, now you have got at the end what we have to do, that yes, resolution means the problem is resolved. And how it resolved? By the character that is in the story. By the character, the problem is resolved. Have you got, my dear students, how that thirsty crow was there and the water was very low and he picked up few pebbles, nearby stones there were, and he put into the jar, the water rose up, he drank the water and flew away. This is resolution, okay? In this way, story is connected with sentence to sentence and event to event in a sequence. Okay, if you will say that in the start the water was, I already discussed, thirsty crow, the crow was very thirsty and the water rose up and he flew away. So it is, if we will keep the and at the very next line of the baseline, first line, so story will not be understandable, okay? So be careful while you are explaining stories, if you are telling everything, if you are writing stories. So what you have to do, you have to follow the sequence. It's clear? Characters, let's see. Characters are the people Animals are things that take part in the story. All these things that are taking part in the story, these are regarding as character. Setting is where and when the story takes place. Setting will tell us, my dear students, that where the story takes place, in a garden, okay, on the road, suppose, and in the jungle, where the story takes place. Is it clear? That setting will tell us where and which time. What was the time? So these all things we will get into setting of the story. So have you got, my dear students? So see there is a picture for you I am showing. So can you judge which is story is being shown there? This is also a folk tale, and we are getting and listing from generation to generation. So have you got that? So let's see. Yes, let's see from here. Once upon a time, there was a shepherd boy who used to take his flock of sheep to the hill to graze on the fresh green grass. Sitting there, he had nothing to do whole day. One day, an idea struck him. He cried out, "Wolf, wolf!" All the men came running with their sticks, and to their dismay, found no wolf. The boy laughed. So have you got, my dear students? See there, what happened? This is showing that this folk tale is that like the shepherd boy and the wolf. So I hope you have already learned many times this story, but this is the story I am giving you. That see there how it is sitting and where this story is happening on the hill station. Okay, there was green grass, and who is the character? There is a boy and who used to graze his sheep. Is clear? So what he did, you have already what he did. He was so bored, so he planned that let's make fool the villagers. So he cried out, "Wolf, wolf!" So all villagers came up the hill, but there was no wolf, and the boy was laughing that I have made you fool. So see there. Next character, see there, picture, and next see what happened. Again, after a few days, he cried out, "Wolf, wolf!" and the villagers again came running up the hill, only to find that the shepherd boy had fooled them. He laughed and laughed. This time the villagers were very angry, and they told him that the next time he cries out for help, they would not come. So yes, this is the fact. What are you getting? Use your mind. So again, after a few days, again he did the same job. Okay, and he cried out, "Wolf, wolf!" But when the villagers came up to the hills, but there was no wolf. He was again laughing that I have made you fool. Okay, so but this time we'll just warn him that we will not come for help next time if you will cry again. Okay, so now see what happened. Now you have got my student. In this way we can, in sequence story is going on. So see next what happened at the next. Okay, what are you getting that? See, next day when his flock of sheep were grazing, he suddenly saw a wolf. He cried out aloud, "Wolf, wolf!" But alas, no one came to rescue his sheep. The wolf was eaten up his sheep. From that day onwards, he promised never to lie again. It's again, okay, so what happened? Yes. At that day, next day, a real wolf came, okay, and it eaten up his all sheep. But what happened? He cried for help, but no one came, because they knew that already 2 times he had made them fool. So this time also he is joking, he is kidding, he is lying again, but this time was truth. Mind it. So what did you get? There is a lesson. Yes, never lie. Okay, my dear student, there is a lesson in this story also, that we should never lie. When you lie, my dear students, so no one have trust on you. Keep remember, if you lie again and again, so sometimes you are also telling the truth, but no one will believe. Keep remember, even when you will share your truth, no one will believe, because they knew that you are habitual to tell a lie. Clear? So what lesson we are getting? We will not lie again. So we must not lie, okay? Because if you will lie at every step of life, on every time when you are lying, so no one will believe you even when you will say the truth. Is it clear? So same like that happened with him. When he lied again and again and made fool the villagers, but when the real time happened, A wolf came up, but no one came to help. Why? Because they got that this time also he is lying. So this is the, what is this? Yes, these are the things that we should not lie in our life. Okay, good. Promise to your teacher that you will not lie again in your life. Good. So let's perform an activity. Okay, my dear teachers, ask students to perform a role play of the Little Red Riding Hood story in class. Teacher will guide students to perform the story by imitating the characters nicely. Perform this activity in the class and enjoy, my dear students. There is Little Red Riding Hood on page number 129 on your book, my dear student. This story is mentioned on your book. So what you have to do? Yes, you are going to enjoy a lot of fun while performing this activity, my dear students. You have to perform all these characters. Teacher will give you different characters are there. So you have to perform your class, perform this activity in your class and enjoy. Welcome back. I hope you have enjoyed and you have got that how we can set a story in a sequence and how we can, if we have to get a role play, so how we can get a role play of the story. So okay, so what you will do there, I am giving you another task, my dear students. You will perform this story activity in your assembly time, okay, and you will give a lesson to your students, to whole school. Okay, so my dear teacher, you will prepare them nicely and students will perform this story. They can perform this story in assembly time when you have enough time, ample time to perform this story. So you must perform in front of your whole school. Okay, even that is in assembly time, and even this story can be performed on Friday also when you are arranging like Bazme Adab. Okay, so see. Next, open your book, page number 130. There is a question. Fill in the gaps with the appropriate word from the story's text. Story you have already learned. Already I have taught you in chapter also how we can fill the missing input, the missing words to clear the information. So same like that, there is a gap summary. Okay, there some words are missing from the story that now you have read in your book. So fill that on your book. Perform this activity individually in your class. Let's see how much knowledge you have got about story. Pause the video, my dear teachers, and get this activity in your class. Welcome back, and I hope you have done with it and in a good way. Good job. And also you're enjoying because today our lecture is going on story time. Good. So what's your homework for today? Write your favorite story in your notebook and next day we'll perform in front of their class. You have to perform the favorite story that you will write in your notebook. So next day you will perform this favorite story in your class one by one. It's up to you, okay? So see there, my dear teacher, this is a story writing worksheet for you. So this worksheet link is given below. You should provide it to your students and they will write a story about this. Okay, how we can explore and see the end of the rainbow less than half a mile away. Okay, so what we have learned today we learned about story writing. We also learned about the all elements of a story writing that are important to set a story, and in this way we have covered up our SLO. Recognize and describe briefly story elements, tell when and where the story is said, describe the characters in a story, express preferences about them, retell a story briefly and sequentially, summarize a short folk tale through gap summary exercise, and the last one, expressing an understanding of story through a role play. Yes, we have done with it and we have enjoyed our today's lecture because we got stories that what is the importance of a story, why stories are discussing or describing anything, because we can get a lesson through it. There is a moral lesson and we have to follow it. Okay, so I hope you have enjoyed today's lecture, my dear students. So tomorrow with a new lecture. See you soon. Till that time, stay blessed. Allah Hafiz.